Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Thursday, August 28th, 2025. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. As always, you need to know this. This podcast covers the national champions. We're going to get a real look at our guys here in about 2 days or so. Weather is participating or cooperating, as they say. Looking at a crisp, sunny day in Columbus. Like I said, we may be able to trick some of these recruits into thinking this is the weather year-round. Good stuff. Got a great show for you today. Bill Kurelic will be here. Mark Porter will be here. They're going to make their Texas-Ohio State picks. We're going to talk about what recruits will be in town. And then we're going to take a look at 3 future Ohio State Buckeyes. I put that in air quotes. 1 definitely, 2 possibly. Something to look forward to. Another thing to look forward to, Viore. This is some good stuff. First of all, you'll learn this. Vuori, pronounced Viore. Who knew? Designed to look great beyond the gym, whether you're running errands, heading to the office, or just meeting up with friends or attending a football game. This is the most comfortable, fitness, lounge-focused, great for stretching, stylish for everyday wear. They've kind of taken athletic chic to the next level. It's an effortless wardrobe essential. They've got great joggers, other stuff with the lightweight, relaxed fit, moisture-wicking 4-way performance stretch. They're on top of it. And if Viore wants to make an investment in your happiness, they're offering 20% off your first purchase. So you can get yourself some of the most comfortable and versatile clothing on the planet at Viore.com/Bucknuts. VUORI.com/Bucknuts. 20% off your first purchase and free shipping on any U.S. orders over $75 and free returns. Look who it is. The Dean, Bill Kurelic, and the Grand Poobah, Mark Porter. Yes, high school has started, but gentlemen, live ammo will be firing. I don't know if that's politically correct, but we are going for real here this weekend. And just to whet your appetites, we're going to pick the game to start the show. So the highest rated part of the show will be at the beginning. Bill, you've seen a few big openers in your time. Where would you kind of fit this in terms of big games to start the season? And then your vibe, you know a lot of these players on both sides. One thing that's great about watching Texas is you get to watch a ton of guys that we trumped up here on this show. Brandon Baker. But, Bill, your pick and your thoughts as we head into the game this weekend.
Well, I don't know. I know I haven't kept track, but I know it's been a lot. As far as how many times I've been asked the question in the last 2 weeks by friends, people I see out, whatever, who's going to win this game and how's it going to go, that type of thing. And my answer is always something to the extent of it's hard to say right now because what is the most important position on the field? Quarterback. There's not a whole lot to go on as far as actual really meaningful game reps for the quarterbacks for either team. You know, Julian saying, we don't know how he's going to play. There's not really a track record of meaningful reps. And Manning, pretty much, not fairly closely the same thing. And those 2 are the most important positions on the field. So it's really hard to say, but I do think that, I think you'd say, Dan, that in Vegas, they give 3 points for the home field advantage or something to that extent. And I do think that's really important, especially when you have quarterbacks that don't have a lot of experience and certainly not big game experience. And of course, Julian saying on the college level. So I think that home field advantage is extremely important. Ohio State's defense, I really expect to be very, very good. But I think Texas's defense is pretty darn good too. So I'm kind of going with a relatively low-scoring game, 24-21 Ohio State would be my prediction right now.
Mark, Ohio's your specialty, but you've been with us long enough now that you've actually done a bunch of videos on guys recruiting. Ohio State's been going up against Texas head up on the recruiting show here for at least the last few years. Your thoughts as we head into the weekend?
You know, we're nerds when we talk about Brandon Baker instead of Arch Manning. Like, you know that we're going to be dialed in on whoever's pass rushing to that side, especially on third downs, where we are deep in the weeds of Bucknutness when you're really looking at those type of matchups. Guys, I've watched a lot of like national guys talk about this game. Of course, we know our own team so well. Picking this game is excruciating. We had dozens of guys go in the NFL draft. It felt like it just feels like you're replacing an entire roster. The Ohio State coaches don't know who they are. We don't know who they are. And when I say that, we know their names, but we don't know who's going to show up. And this game is, to me, is more of who are we? Who are our new stars? Who are the guys that we're going to sit here next week and say, can you believe that he took over the game like that? Can you believe our new running back, Peoples, went for 200 yards? Or can you believe that he only had 18 yards? You know, so I think those storylines are just so there's like a wide range, like kind of like me off the tee in golf. It could be really far left or really far right. There's a wide range of what can happen. It's not like we know last year going into the national championship game, we knew exactly who we were. It was like right 300 down the middle. We knew what we were going to get. I think Ohio State's going to squeak this out, but I wouldn't want to gamble on it. I wouldn't want to sit there in the fourth quarter and hope for the field goal to go in because it could be that type of last drive scenario. I mean, would it end any other way? But I think Bill's right. It's a close game. Hopefully our field goal kicker can nail a few and give us an edge. Julian saying the decisions he makes throughout the game are largely going to decide this game. I mean, I'm sorry I'm not being like, hey, I think – and I don't want to be looking through it with rose-colored glasses and just pick Ohio State because we're the Bucknuts. I legitimately think we have re-upped and restocked with great players. They don't know who they are. They're sitting around, am I going to have a couple sacks? Am I going to be able to guard this guy? Just the amount of inexperience – we could talk about that for the rest of the podcast. How much inexperience and how many – game reps do our starters have last year going into this game? How many of them have starts? And there's really a lot of that where the rubber's going to meet the road.
Yep. I'll have my pick in the round table because I try not to sneeze here. But the two places I see this game being decided, besides the obvious ones of quarterback and such, one, Texas is replacing 4 guys on the offensive line and has had injuries. Their right guard is a returning starter, but the rest of the dudes are new starters, which is interesting considering Ohio State will start 4 new starters on the defensive line. So anyone who says they know it's going to happen up front there is full of it. Nobody has any idea. The quarterbacks, everyone's talked about that. And I know people are upset, generally speaking, with the national media being so on Arch. The national media is really just homogenizing, skimming off the top news-wise. Arch is a name that everybody knows, is an easy click, and he's on Texas. So I wouldn't read too much into that. Here's the one thing I disagree with the national media. You've seen a lot of people talk about how Texas held Jeremiah Smith to 1 catch for, I think, 3 yards. And then people who've gone back and watched the video and seen how they double-teamed him and essentially just at the snap were running at him, etc. And the implication is kind of that they can just do that again, set up the double team, and it's just going to work. Well, I don't agree with that for a few reasons. One is you're going to have some new stuff in here, but the main reason I don't agree with that is in order to handle something like that in your secondary, you need great communication. You need great kind of like continuity. And yes, they have a lot of guys back. They lost their best corner. Jahdae Barron is in the NFL. And let's keep this in mind. That was week 15 for a secondary against Jeremiah Smith. This is week 1 for that secondary against Jeremiah Smith. The idea that those guys are going to be communicating at such high level, I just don't buy that. Also, Jeremiah is 20 pounds heavier and faster. So you've got a taller order with less preparation and less continuity. The idea that Jeremiah is not going to be able to extra motivated for this game and want to put up some numbers, that would make me worried if I was Texas. There you have it. I think obviously it's Bucknuts. You're not going to get a lot of picks against the Buckeyes. Now, guess who's going to be at the game? Lots and lots of future stars. That's where Bill comes in. Mark comes in with the analysis. Bill, I wanted the 5 most important recruits coming to the game, and I was told no one's established that, but you can find me 5 very important. So we're going to give you 5 very important recruits to watch this weekend. William, the floor is yours.
Well, I'm going to actually start, interestingly enough, I guess, with a current Ohio State commitment, and that is Blaine Bradford. You know, there has been discussion, I guess you'd say, rumors, whatever, that maybe Blaine Bradford would flip at some point from Ohio State. I have continually said Blaine nor his family have given me any indication whatsoever that that's even a thought in their mind. So I am not at all saying that I think Blaine Bradford is going to flip. I think he's, at this point, I think he's very solid to Ohio State. He is going to be at Ohio Stadium on Saturday. And, you know, when you get a commitment as high profile as him from out of state, from the state of Louisiana, nonetheless, I just think it's so important to continue to get him back on campus. And for a game like this, I think it's huge. Interestingly enough, Blaine is going to be at the game, but his father's going to go see his brother playing. So that's kind of interesting and makes sense, really. But I think Blaine Bradford being back on campus at Ohio State is extremely important, and I love the fact that he is. Get him on campus for as many games as you can. Great thing. David Gabriel Georges, the number 1, the top guy really on Ohio State's running back board for 2027. Anytime you can get the top position guy on your board in for a game like this, I think that's absolutely huge. But I think there's another running back that I think is absolutely huge. Cayman Spell, Penn State commitment. Getting him on campus, I think, is really important. And I'm not saying he's going to flip, because this is not the only game he's going to besides Penn State games. He's going to go to a Michigan game, for instance. But getting him on campus is important. Monsoon Sales, the wide receiver from Indiana. Again, he's a top of the board wide receiver guy for Brian Hartline. If you can add him to Jameer Brown, who's already committed to Ohio State, and you've got Dakota Garant also coming in. You can add those 3 guys to your wide receiver room. What's already a great room. I think that's just so important. And then I'm going to go with a 2028 guy. Got to stick a 2028 guy in, because as I've been featuring this week, there's a lot of really good 2028 guys coming into Ohio State this weekend. But I'm going to go with Kellen Hall, the defensive lineman from Louisville. Reason I go with him being so important is that he's from Louisville, Kentucky. That's not exactly a long way from Ohio State. He is one of the top, he's a 5-star guy, one of the top 2028 guys in the country, a position of need for Ohio State defensive line. So I'm going to go with him as the number 5 guy, so to speak. That's the 5. But again, I want to emphasize that I've gone with this question, Dan. I've chosen to go with all out-of-state guys, because all the Ohio guys that they've offered that are going to be at Ohio State on Saturday are really important. Sure. But I've just kind of chosen to go with 5 out-of-state guys as being very important this weekend to be on campus at Ohio State.
Mark, your thoughts as you hear those names?
Like I said, Bill said it, getting these guys on campus is so important. You almost don't realize. I was just kind of reminiscing when I went to the game last year of the red carpet treatment that these guys get. I kind of want to relive that. Like every time you walk through the door there, all of a sudden you have like a little chaperone that stays with you and your family the entire day. It's like your own personal butler or servant. And I need a food. Or show us where the elevator is. Where's the bathroom? Take us on the field. I mean, that's what's going on. So I don't want to like overlook that's what it means going to a game, not just sitting in the stands and maybe seeing go ahead.
My question for you guys is this. Are you saying that these visits still matter even in a time that kids are getting paid?
Exactly. I think, and this is something, and Dan, we digress, the Niners and Cowboys, but what the Niners knew back in the 80s was Eddie DeBartolo knew how to treat his players. And it was that era of the players were treated like dirt and we just run you like dogs and we beat you up and the strong survive and we're the owners and coaches and you guys are the players. And all of a sudden it went to, what do you guys need? Instead of little towels in the locker room, the Niners got these big giant towels you could wrap around yourselves 3 times, where other locker rooms you could barely fit it around you. And the red carpet treatment of players, that era has begun, and it's at Ohio State in full force. I mean, being treated that special for a day, it does something to you. It really makes you feel wanted and important. And, you know, the type of attention before the game these coaches lay on these players with the conversations. And, I mean, we were at a table and 5, 6, 7, 8 coaches stopped by to say hi to the prospects there, meet their families, take pictures. I mean, just when you say red carpet, behind the scenes, backstage pass, all those type of feelings, you leave there with thinking, man, these guys are first class. And I want to be a part of that. And that's not what money can buy you. Money can't buy you those smiles and relationships and friendships and arms around the shoulder. And I know I'm going on about this, but I'm trying to really give you a real description of why visits are so important. It's not like you get there at 9 a.m., they take you in the office and say, here's your package for money and here's your tickets for the game and go enjoy it. And it's a real cold feel. They have a family atmosphere there, and they're also checking you out. That's the other thing. As they talk to your family, they notice who you have around you and, you know, how you're dressed and your vernacular and how you talk and how well spoken and the type of education and your parents' education. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff. I mean, it's like, as I'm watching, my brain's melting. I'm like, they're vetting him. They're kissing that mom's butt. They're, you know, ignoring that kid. And you just see the vibes in the room. And if you had a camera to watch all over, you could replay and say, look at the orchestration that goes into one of these days. It is unbelievable. And hats off to that recruiting staff at Ohio State. They have an army on Saturdays to take care of these people, a literal army.
For those,
by the way, speaking of, you talked about visits, Dan. I mentioned those 3 wide receivers, Jameer Brown, who is committed, and Munchen Sales, and Dakota Grant. They have all been on campus before Ohio State. This is not going to be their first time there, but it's still important. And you know, if you're Ohio State, you got 5 wide receivers committed right now for 2026, and what a group it is. So for 2027, you're not really looking at numbers so much as high quality, and those 3 guys are all high quality. In fact, if you say Ohio State is getting those 3 guys for their 2027 wide receiver haul, I say it's a wrap. I'll take it. That's all we need. That's it. And I will also say that the old saying in recruiting used to be follow the visits. I will agree, not so much that saying anymore because of the money situation. But again, as Mark said, it is still important, although it's not the be all end all anymore. Follow the visits.
And I didn't mean to avoid your question. The Ohio guys that I'm excited to see there or whatever. I'm going to see Kellen Weimer this weekend, the offensive lineman from Liberty Center. He's going to be there. There are a list of guys. Mason Wilt from St. Clairsville. I'm planning on seeing him in the next couple of weeks. As I look at lists, the Ronaldo Perez, the defensive end out of Columbus Academy, I'll be around to see him in the next couple of weeks. So this list of Ohio guys, Jameer Perez, I see the Glenville guys are there. A lot of them are committed. The one receiver that would be awesome to see is Chris Henry Jr. Is he any taller? How do his legs look? He had that leg injury. Is he thick in the body now? I would be nerding out on some of these out-of-state guys I see on this list. Rayshawn Duncan was a kid from Bedford that was talked about last year. I'd be interested to see him this year. There was a lot of hype about him, but I wasn't always buying into the sophomore tape. So it's interesting to see his name on that list.
I'll tell you one thing. You said, how does Chris Henry Jr. look? He looked great on this past weekend on Saturday. Oh, my goodness.
Good teaser, Bill. We have the film coming up.
Here, I'm going to read another ad here, but I want to just – I get that people got to hop in here every 10 seconds and talk about it's all about the money and stuff like that. You're basically saying – let me say this. D. Sanchez is in here. That was a recruiting battle. Do you not want to enter into that? You guys, we can't have it both ways here. They're going to pick and choose their battles. But if you want to just like back out of recruiting and not – they're doubling down on guys. There's certain guys will cover more. But the idea that we're not going to enter into these battles and not get anybody, you wouldn't have Devin Sanchez then. And I don't think this pod would be as good without the Sanchez's. So you guys, we can't have it both ways here. I get that it comes down to the money. Sometimes I think we're going a little overboard here on what they're not getting and not appreciating what they're getting. Total money spent will be plenty. You can't have Kenyatta Jackson be a top 50 player and come back for his senior year after not starting unless he's being compensated behind closed doors. Can't have it both ways. There you go. All right. You know what you can't have? DraftKings. The rivalries, the marching bands, the upsets. Saturdays just got way more fun. College football is back. Think you know the game? Put your knowledge to the test with DraftKings Sportsbook. And turn your picks into big payouts. Live betting, rivalry week odds boosts, and more. DraftKings Sportsbook has everything you need to own every Saturday. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Bucknuts. That's code Bucknuts for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. All right, make sure. So download, get the app. You are ready to rock. Okay, speaking of ready to rock, Mark Porter has already been out on the road and has done a lot of great stuff for us already. We are getting some tremendous video today. You're going to see video of 2 Cincinnati offensive linemen. And then we pulled the aforementioned Chris Henry video from the modern-day Fort Lauderdale St. Thomas Aquinas game because it is spectacular. Those of you who were here for Buckeye in the Sky earlier in the week got to see Jameer Weiss in action, Jameer Brown in action, some Mason Wilt stuff, some Max Riley stuff. But we are all over it. We're going to go watch some video here, and then the Dean and the Grand Poobah will let you know where they're going this weekend, and then we'll let you guys go. Mark, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so Cincinnati Moeller High School, as if they needed any more talent to go with the Mr. Football candidate. KJ Johnson is how he's listed on his huddle page, so that's what I'm going to call him from now on. He's transferred from Cincinnati Taft, listed at like 6'6", 285. There he is, and if you see number 70 there, that's Patrick O'Brien. They're monsters. They got to be 2 of the best tackles this year. I'm not going to start saying they're Adam Guthrie and Sam Greer, but if they started to get mentioned with those types of players, it would not shock me based on their body types. I love how guys jump in the air and try to get by you doing that stuff.
Yeah.
Khalil's just a wall. He is an absolute wall. He was 240 pounds last year, and he had great feet. Still has the great feet at 280 pounds. They threw the ball a lot. This game was a couple of short possessions, picks for touchdowns, fumbles for touchdowns. They rotated a couple other offensive linemen in, but Khalil certainly stole the show for me. His body and his excitement, you can see the way he just stonewalls little guys like that. He took a shot in the eye right there. And then Patrick O'Brien, I use this phrase a lot, the 747 wingspan. He's actually the left tackle, so they gave him the blind side of Mr. Football. I don't know if that's where he was playing last year and felt more comfortable, but trying to get around Mount O'Brien and Mount Johnson is, no easy feat. I mean, they sent speed rushers. They sent power rushers. If I'm the quarterback at Moeller, I am so excited to be standing between these guys and what they put in front of you. And Matt Ponatoski, I know he's going to Kentucky, but boy, what a great player. I always have to mention that. He spins it as good as anybody. One more player, or two more plays, I think, out of Patrick O'Brien, and we're going to get to Chris Henry. Look how small that defensive end looked. Look at the lack of power that defensive end had trying to move against these. Yeah, it's just too much size. And then Chris Henry, knowing he was injured last year, I'm not worried about the highlights. I'm just watching him run here and see if his legs are strong, if he's jumping. Like, he looks fresh. I mean, in the next play here, you get to see him out in the open field a little bit more. But hats off to him to putting in the work on the rehab. And it's so nice to see some good things happen. It's like a welcome back performance. You could see how excited he is just running in the end zone. Like, when you're hurt like that, you probably think you're never going to play again. And that's what it looked like when he went running down the field. I'm so happy to be back and doing what I love.
Yeah, I don't mean to be hyperbolic here, but that looked like Randy Moss. Now, he's playing against high school kids. Excuse me, keep in mind, that was not some pylon of a football team. That was St. Thomas Aquinas, Bosa High, Michael Irvin High. So they've had some players there, and that's a big national matchup. All right, gents, let's wrap things up here. William, where will you be this weekend and why before you hunker down Saturday and catch the Buckeyes?
Somewhat in my backyard. I live in the Olentangy School District. A couple of my kids went to Olentangy Orange. That's not where I'll be, though, but I'll be not too far from there, Olentangy Liberty. Olentangy now has more schools than they can almost count. And I think they're adding another, I believe, down the road. But anyway, I'll be at Olentangy Liberty as Cleveland Glenville plays there for the second year in a row. And I'm excited to see Sincere Johnson again, Jameer Perez, Anthony Crittenden, and so on and so forth. Glenville's got some young guys and all, besides Crittenden. But seeing two Ohio State commitments in Sincere Johnson and J.J. Perez.
Marcus?
Kellen Weimer at Liberty Center, and they're playing Pemberton Eastwood. Never seen Pemberton Eastwood. If anybody knows of any prospects for Pemberton Eastwood, let me know. But I'll probably let you know if there's some giant hidden there. But it's kind of a blind scout for that team. Sometimes I go to places and the other team isn't as relevant as seeing Kellen Weimer. Of course, he had the Notre Dame offer, Northwestern, Ohio State. I have not seen him yet. I can't wait to check him out. And then the second half, St. John's Jesuit always has a good fair amount of prospects. I did not see their showcase, so I'm interested to see them. And they're playing Anthony Wayne. Porter Brungard is a 2028 quarterback that already has a couple offers. So, yeah, I'm going to get after the young guys. And if you sense a theme to me, I kind of have to do some scouting Ohio work with some Buckeye work. I will be treated to Cardinal Mooney versus Villa Angela St. Joe's in my backyard on Saturday night, Bill, and we'll be able to check out the tight end there. So, big weekend of football for me. Nothing Thursday night. Not a big week of Thursday night football this week in Ohio.
All right, some programming notes. We will have Buckeye in the Sky from your Mark Porter breaking down the 10 biggest plays of Ohio State's game against Texas. You won't get a better video breakdown from anyone. However, before that, directly after the game, what we learned live with Dave Biddle. This is going to be as packed a game as you can get. And keep in mind, if it's close, getting out of Ohio Stadium is like getting out of Burning Man in the desert. So no dust storm, but you'll be in traffic. What better way to get through that traffic than the dulcet tones of Dave Biddle as we talk about, hopefully, a W over Texas. So that's what we learned live immediately after the final buzzer, or the last whistle, as it were here. Keep it right. And then Bill will have follow-ups on all the visitors. He'll let them go enjoy and then catch up. And then Mark will have all the stuff from the weekend. So those of you who have just bided your time to get to here when it was football, and I include myself in that at the front, every year by this time, I am ready for some football to come back, so my life has some more purpose. Is that as vapid? It may be, but this is Bucknuts. So we appreciate everybody stopping by, even the few Texas fans that were in here. far more cordial than fans from another team that tends to hop in here with regularity. But I digress. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Have a good one. Nutters of Buck.